Today I'm here sitting around the fire here to tell some stories. It's dark out, so I figured now would be an excellent time to just sit down and tell some classic folk tales. With that, let's get right into it. The first tale I'll be telling is Princess Finola and the Dwarf. It's an Irish folk tales. And with that being said, let's get right into it. A long time ago, there lived in a little hut in the midst of a bare, brown, lonely moor, an old woman and a young girl. The old woman was withered and sour-tempered and dumb. The young girl was as sweet and fresh as an open rose but however, and her voice was beautiful, musical like the whisper of a stream in the woods on a hot day of summer. The hut, made of branches woven closely together like a beehive. The centre burned a fire night and day, all the time, from year to year to year, though it was never touched or tended. On the cold days and nights during winter, it produced light and heat, making the hut comfortable as all. But during summer, it was cool and merely illuminated the hut. With their heads to the wall of the hut and their feet towards the fire, two sleeping couches were of plain wood, which slept the old woman, and the other Finolas, of bog oak, polished like a looking glass, carved with flowers and birds, intricate, gleaming and shone in the light of the fire, fit for a princess, and a princess Finola was, even though she had no idea herself. Outside the hut, boring, brown, bare, lonely, miles on every side, but east of it, range of mountains looked to Finola, blue in the daytime, but changed colours as the sun went down, a whole rainbow of 100 colours. Not a house in sight though, not a tree even, or even a flower or any other living being. No bee, nor bird, no voice of man, any sound at all fell upon Finola's ear. When storms were in the air, when great waves crashed against the shore beyond the mountains, and when wind rustled and howled and shouted, it all lost its voice, passed silently across the moor. This, at first, frightened Finola quite a bit, but it takes no time at all to get used to a thing, and nowadays she broke it by talking and singing to herself. The only other person besides the old woman Finola had ever seen was a mute dwarf on a broken down horse who came monthly to the hut. With him, he brought a sack of corn for the girl. He couldn't speak, of course, but Finola was always happy to see the dwarf and his horse, and always baked a homemade cake for them with her own hands. As for the dwarf, he would have died for the princess, so deeply in love with her, and he was often quite saddened with a heavy heart as he was hiding away in the lonely moor. One day, by chance, and she did not as usual come to greet him. He saw the old woman, but she took us. He signed to the old woman, but she took a stick and struck him, and beat his horse and drove him in a way. But he wouldn't leave without seeing to know that they were hurt. And when he did, he saw that she was crying. Absolutely wrecked and made him miserable. And he could think of nothing but her tears on a face that had always been so bright. And he allowed the old horse to go on, meandering, until he heard a voice saying, "It is time for you to come." The dwarf looked. Beside him, at the foot of a green hill, a little man, half even his size, dressed to the nines, green jacket, brass buttons, red hat, tassels. "It is time for you to come," he repeated, "but you are welcome anyhow. Off your horse, and come in. May I touch your lips with a wand of speech, and we may talk together." The dwarf, off his horse he came, and followed through a hole to the side of a green hill. This hole was so small that he had to go on his hands and knees to pass through it, and when he was able to stand, he was only the same height as the little ferryman. After a mere 3-4 steps, they were in a splendid room, bright as ever, diamonds in the roof like stars in the sky on a clear night. Golden pillars below the ceiling, and betwixt the pillars lamps of silver, dimmed by diamonds. In the centre of the room, a table, 2 golden plates, 2 silver knives and forks, a brass bell the size of a hazelnut, and there were 2 little chairs covered with blue silk and satin. "Take a chair," said the fairy, "and I will ring the wand of speech." Sitting down, and the ferryman rang the little brass bell, came in a little weedy dwarf no bigger than your hand. "Bring me the wand of speech," the fairy said, and the weedy dwarf bowed twice, walked backwards, and in but a minute carried a little black wand with a red berry atop it. Handing it to the dwarf, bowed thrice, and walked backwards once more. Thrice the little man waved the wand over the dwarf, struck him on his right shoulder, then his left, then his lips, with the berry, and said, "Speak!" And the dwarf spoke. Oh joy, oh joy! Hearing the sound of his own voice, he danced and pranced and flopped around the room, and spoke. "Who are you, at all, at all? Here is yourself. But come, before we have any talk, eat. I'm sure you are hungry." And so they sat down at the table. The fairy rang the bell twice. The dwarf brought in 2 boiled snails, and when they had eaten, he brought in a dormouse, and when they had eaten the dormouse, 2 wrens, and when they had eaten the wrens, 2 nuts full of wine, and they were merry. And the ferryman sang, "Clean Lass, the little blackbird of the glen. Did you ever hear of the foggy dew?" "No." "Well then, I'll give it to you, but you must have more wine." And wine was brought, and he sang the foggy dew, and the dwarf said it was the sweetest song he'd ever heard ever, and the ferryman was going to coax the birds off the buses. "You asked me who I am." "I did," said the dwarf. "And you asked, here is yourself." You did. And who are you then? Well, to tell the truth, I don't know, he said, blushing red of a rose. Now, tell me what you do know then. I remember nothing, Dwarf said. Before the day I found myself going along with a crowd, all sorts of people at the fair of lifting. We had to pass the king's palace on our way, and passing the king, I think. We sent for jugglers, and they showed their tricks. I followed them to look, and when the play was over, the king came to him and asked me who I was and where I came from. I was dumb then and couldn't answer, but even if I could speak, I could not tell him what he wanted to know, for I didn't remember anything for that day. The king asked the jugglers, but they knew naught, and no one knew naught, and the king said he would take me to his service, and the only work I would have to do is go once a month with a bag of corn to the hut in the lonely moor. And there you fell in love with a little princess, he said, winking. The poor dwarf blushed, twice as red as before. You no need to blush. It is a good man's case. Now tell me, truly, you love the princess, and you'd give. And what would you give to free her from the spell of enchantment over her? I would give my life. Listen to me well then. The Princess Finola was banished to the lonely moor by the king, your master. Her father he killed, the rightful king, and Finola he murdered as well, when we were told her by an old sorceress that were we to kill her, he too would die on the day same. Instead, she advised him to banish her to the lonely moor, and she flung the spell of enchantment over it, and that till the day the spell was broken, Finola could not leave that moor. The sorceress also promised to send an old woman to watch over by night and by day and night, so that naught harm should ever hurt her. But she told the king that he himself should select a messenger to take the corn to the hut, and he should look for someone who had never seen or heard of the princess, and whom he could trust never to tell anything about her. Thus the reason he selected you. Since you know so much, can you tell me who I am and where I came from? You'll know soon enough. I have given you back your speech. It will depend solely on yourself whether you will be able to get your memory back, and if you're willing to try and break the spell of enchantment for this princess, well, I am whatever the cost to you. Yes, even if it cost me my life, said the dwarf. But tell me, how can this enchantment be broken? Easy enough if you have the weapons. What are they and where? Of a shining haft, a spear, of a blade of dark blue, and a shield of gleaming silver. On the farther bank of the mystic lake, an island of the western seas. There they sit, waiting for one who is bold enough to seek them. If you are the one to bring them back to the lonely moor, you'll merely have to strike the shield thrice with a haft, thrice with the blade of the spear, and silence over the moor will be broken forever. Enchantment removed, and the dear princess free. Apologies. Where was I? Oh, yes. I will set it up once, the dwarf jumping from his chair, and whatever it cost you, the price will be paid. It will be. Mount your horse then, give him his head, and he will take you to the shore opposite the island of the Mystic Lake. Cross on his back, and make way to the water steeds that swim round the island day and night, night and day, to guard it. But it will betide you if you attempt to cross without paying the price. If you anger the water steeds, they will rend you and your horse to pieces, to shreds, to driblets. And come to the lake, you must wait till the waters are red, crimson, like wine, and swim your horse across it, and finally, on the far side, you'll find a spear and shield. But you'll betide if you attempt to cross the lake before paying the price, for if you do, the black cormorants of the western seas will pick at your flesh, rip it from your bones to nothing but a skeleton. What is the price? Asked the dwarf. You will know that time enough, but now go, and good luck with you. Mounting the fairy, the dwarf waved his goodbyes, and started up the hill. The seemed to grow bigger as they ascended, and the hill into a great mountain, travelling all day over its steep crags and passes, reaching the top as the sun was setting to the ocean, and finally you saw, out below him, the island of the Mystic Lake. Beginning his descent to the shore, he long before reached it, before the sun had set, and darkness, unpierced by a single star, dropped to the ocean. His horse, worn out by this long and painful journey, sank beneath him, and the dwarf was also tired. He simply rolled off and fell by his slept. Winking at the break of dawn, he saw that he was almost at the edge of the water. Looking out, he saw the island, but he could not see the water steps, and worried that he might have taken the wrong course in the night. What if the island was not the one he was searching for? But while he was thinking, he heard fierce and angry snortings coming swiftly from the island to the shore, and he saw the swimming and prancing steeds. Their heads and manes were the only thing was visible, and, rearing, they half rose out of the water, striking with their hooves, turning it into foam-tossing spray to the skies. They approached nearer and nearer, their snorting was more terrible, more terrifying. The nostril was shooting clouds of vapour. The dwarf, trembling at the mere sight and the sound, and his horse, the same, almost quivering in pain. Yet, when they almost touched the shore, they reared and sprung back a mite. The dwarf turned his head to flee, and as he did, he saw, or rather heard, a golden harp, and right beside him, he saw a little man of the hills, holding a little harp in a single hand, striking the strings with tether. Are you ready to pay the price? As he asked the question, the listening water steed snorted more angry and more furiously than ever. Are you ready to pay the price? The little man repeated. The steed stomped and bayed, drenching the dwarf to the skin and a cold shiver to his bones, and he was so terrified he could barely utter a word. And thrice the thing he repeated, "For the last time, are you ready to pay the price?" And as the little fairy turned to depart, the dwarf, thinking of the little princess in the lonely moor, found his courage and answered, "Yes, I am ready." The student, hearing the answer, snorting with rage, struck the shore with their pounding hooves. "Back to your waves!" cried the little harper, as he ran his finger across the lyre, and the students drew back into the waters. "What is the price?" asked the dwarf. "You're right, said the fairy, and before the dwarf could say a word, the fairy reached out to his head, to his eye, put his hand in his socket, and scooped it out with a single motion, with a single finger, and put it in his pocket. The dwarf cried in great agony, most terrible pain, but resolved to bear it for the sake of the princess. And the fairy sat down on a rock at the edge of the sea, struck a few more notes, and began to play strains of slumber. The sound crept along the waters and the stews, so furious a moment before, became still, no motion of their own, floating like foam before a breeze. Now, and he led the dwarf's horse to the edge of the tide. The dwarf urged the horse into the water, to its depths, and the old horse boldly and bravely struck out for the island. The sleeping water steeds drifted helplessly against him, and it was no time at all till he reached the island, and he rode safely as his shoes touched solid ground once more. The dwarf now roamed more and more on and on till he found a bridle path, and, following this, up through winding lanes bordered with golden firs, the air full of fragrance, he reached to the top of a green hill, girdled, and looked down upon the lake. The horse stopped of his own accord, and the dwarf's heart beat quickly as the eye rested on the lake, clipped around by the ring of hills and the breezes and sunlit air. As still as death, and as bright as life can be. After gazing at it for a long time, he dismounted, lay at his ease in the pleasant grass. Hour after hour, the no change came to the face of the waters, and night fell, and the dwarf slept. A lark, singing, awoke him in early morning. Looking at the lake, the waters were bright as they'd ever been. Midday, he beheld what he thought was a black cloud across the sky, east to west, growing larger as it came nearer and nearer, and when it was above the lake, a huge bird darkened the sky, and the dwarf knew it was one of the cormorants of the western seas. It descended slowly. He saw it had held in its claws a branch of a tree larger than a full-grown oak, with clusters of red, ripe berries. It alighted some distance from the dwarf, and, resting for a time, ate the berries and threw stones to the lake, and where the stone fell, a bright red stain appeared in the water. A closer look at the bird, the dwarf realized it was old, and he couldn't help but wonder how it was able to carry such a heavy tree. And then, 2 more later in the day, larger than the first but younger, came from the west, rested beside him, also eating berries and throwing stones to the lake. And soon the lake was red like wine. Having eaten the berries, the young birds began to pick the decayed feathers off the old bird, and pruned and smoothed his plumage. Completing their task, he rose from the hill and sailed over the lake, dropping down on the waters, dived beneath them. In a moment, he surfaced, shot up into the air with a joyous cry, and flew off west with all the vigour of youth renewed, followed by the other birds. Gone so far they were but specks in the sky, and the dwarf mounted his horse and descended to the lake. And, almost at the margin, but a minute till plunging in, he heard a fierce scream in the air, looked up, and the 3 birds were hovering over the lake, and the dwarf back he drew, fear in his heart. The birds circled overhead, swooping and calming, covering the water with their wings, rising great heights, folding and dropping headlong like 3 rocks, like 3 arrows upon the lake, crashing its surface and scattering the red wine water upon the hills. The dwarf remembered that the fairy told him, were we to attempt to swim the lake without paying the price, the clawments would pick the flesh right off his bones. He knew not what to do, and was to turn away, when he heard the golden tongue of the harp once more, and the little fairy of the hills stood before him. "Faint heart, never won fair lady, are you ready to pay the price?" The spin sailed on the opposite bank, and Princess Finola is crying this moment in the lonely moor. It took but Finola's name, and the dwarf's heart grew strong. "Yes, I am ready. Win or die. What is the price?" "Your left eye," the fairy said, and as soon as he scooped out the eye, he put it in his pocket. And the poor blind dwarf almost fainted with excruciating pain. Blood and void and sockets empty. He could see nothing, and knew only pain. "It's your last trial," said the fairy. "Now do what I tell you. Twist your horse's mane round your right hand, and release him into water. Plunge him, and fear not. I will give you back your speech. Reach on the opposite bank. Your memory will return, and you will know who you are and what you are." And so the fairy led the horse to the margin of the lake, and with you now. Good luck with you. The dwarf urged the horse into the lake, plunging in down and down till his feet struck the bottom, and then ascending up and up, he surfaced of the water, and the dwarf thought he saw a glimmering light, and when he rose the water, he saw a bright sun shining and green hills before him, and he shouted at joy at his sight restored. But more than that, he saw more. His old horse transformed into a noble steed, renewed in vigour and youth and power and strength. and the steed swam to the bank, and he felt himself change as well, just as his sight and his voice had been restored, his strength and his strength restored, his skin cleared, and he saw, or upon the hillside, a silver shield as bright as the sun, resting against a spear standing upright, jumping off with his renewed vigor and youth, running towards the shield. He saw himself as in a looking glass, no longer deformed as he was, but a gallant knight. And his memory returned, and knew he was Colonel, a knight of the Red Branch, and he remembered how a spell of muteness and deformity and blight had been cast upon him by the witch of the Palace of the Quickened Trees. Swinging the shield across his left arm, and he plucked the spear from the ground, leapt upon his horse, and, with a light heart, swam back over the lake, and nowhere he could see the black cormorants of the western seas, but instead, lights on the sea, floating, following him to the bank. And when he reached the bank, he galloped down across the sea and across the shore, and, flinging wings upon his horse's neck, swifter than the wind of the gallant horse, swept on, till it was not long. He was bounding over the enchanted moor. Wherever his horse struck, grass and flowers sprung up, and trees with great branches rose on every side. And finally, he reached the little hut. Connell struck the shield thrice with a haft, and thrice with a blade of the spear, and on the final blow, the hut disappeared, and before him the princess. Sweeping her up in his arms and kissing her, he lifted her onto the horse, and, leaping up before her, he turned northward to the Palace of Red Branch Knights, and rode beneath the leafy trees of every tree. The birds sung out, and the spell of silence over that lonely moor was broken forever. That's quite a nice story, actually. A tale of someone overcoming harsh trials and sacrificing everything for a loved one. You know, just nice. Not much to say. Nice to get representation of the Swart Kings, but, you know, it's not the most complex story. It's about being willing to sacrifice for the people you care about. This next story is the Dragon's part, though it's also kind of the Dwarf part. It is, of course. If you hear that, you might be able to guess that this story is about Fafnir. Sort of. Not really. It's about Fafnir's gold. Now a bit of backstory here. If you don't know Fafnir, well, you might, if you do, you might know him from, I don't know, Kobayashi's Dragon Maid or something. He's a G there. I know that he's in a couple other things, but, well, a greedy dragon indeed, but let's get into the story and learn more about him and the curse of Fafnir's gold. This is the story of the Volsungs, descendants of Odin. Not a race of men who were more famous or glorious, and none suffered more terrible things. And the most famous of them all, Sigurd. Born after the death of his father Sigmund, who died as a Volsung should, fiercely fighting in battle. No normal foe could slay him, but Odin himself decided it was time for him to die, joined the battle, and broke Sigmund's sword. Swordless, Sigmund was wounded fatally, and after the battle, lay dying. "Take my broken sword," he said. "Make a new one for it. You are to have a son. When he is older, he will do famous deeds with it, and be remembered as long as the moon lasts." And so, the child, Sigurd, was born, brought up with a foster family, a dwarf blacksmith called Merlin, who taught him skills like many different languages, magic inscriptions and runes, and chess. One day, Merlin said, You have not enough wealth for someone of a noble race like you. I will tell you how you can get more, if you're brave enough. I am one of the 3 brothers. One of my brothers was killed by the god Loki. At that time, my brother was disguised as an otter. Loki, Odin, skinned the said otter, sold the skin to my father, and he took them prisoner, saying he would only set them free if they were to give him gold to fill the skin and cover the outside of the snow. So thus was the price for taking my brother's life. To get this, Loki stole the gold which belonged to the dwarf Dvari, including a ring, a curse, so that whoever had the ring would die from possessing it, and the curse was true. My other brother, Fafnir, murdered my father for the gold. He turned into a dragon and now lurks in the wilderness, guarding the cursed treasure. Make me a sword, and I will kill the dragon and get the gold. And so, Dragon will forge the sword. Trying it against the side of an anvil, the sword shattered to pieces. He forged once more, and once more, Sigurd broke it, and then Sigurd went to his uncle. Is it true you have my father's sword that was broken? She gave him the 2 pieces of sword, said, Long in glory with this. And Sigurd took it to Regin, and asked him a new blade for the pieces. The ring fell, and when he drew it out of the flame, the blade looked as hot as the flame itself. Trying it on the anvil, and this time the anvil was cleaved in. Well, kill that dragon Fafnir. First, let me avenge the men who killed my father, Sigurd said. And, well, long story short, he did. And with such a feat came renown and glory. Now King Fafnir, and he rode to the heath where Fafnir lived in the guise of a dragon. You can kill him when he crawls down to the water to have a drink. And so Sigurd dug a great pit and hid. And when Fafnir lumbered towards the water, the earth shook beneath his steps, and breath poisoned the air. As it was crawling over the right over the hilt. He plunged with the sword right up to the hilt, and drew it out, drenched in blood. Fafnir laughed frantically. "Who are you?" gasped Fafnir. "Nobody knows. I have no father or mother." "You are lying." "I am Sigurd, son of Sigmund. You're going to take my gold, Sigurd. There is a curse on it, Sigurd, and if you have that gold, you will die from possessing it, Sigurd. I know that my brother Regin worked to bring about my death. You are but his tool and his dupe, Sigurd. He will cause the death of you as well, Sigurd. Take your horse, ride away while you still can. Save your life, Sigurd. I shall ride to your lair and take the gold. To your death shall lead, and every man who owns it after you, Sigurd." And, with those words spoken, Fafnir died. Regin then came and cut out the dragon's heart, and asked Sigurd to roast it over the fire. When he touched the heart with his finger to test when it was done, his finger was burnt, put it in his mouth to suck away the pain, and the dragon's blood touched his tongue, and he was blessed with knowledge of bird speak. Sigurd said to eat the heart of Fafnir himself. He will be wiser than all other men, said the nutlat. Regin is plotting how to deceive him, another nuthatch replied. He said to cut off Regin's head, a third. Then he can have all the treasure to himself, a fourth cried. After that, you can ride up to Hinterfall, where Brunhild sleeps. From her, you will learn great wisdom. Sigurd lifted his sword, and flop off Regin's head came, and he rode to the Fafnir's lair, and they stole the treasure of gold and the ring that was said to be cursed to death, or to whoever possessed it. And so he began a long journey to Hinterfall. At last he saw a tall cliff blazing with fire, and as he rode it nearer, saw it was really crowned, glittering shields in a rampart all around it. He made his way betwixt them and saw a young man in armour lying asleep, looking down on his astonishment, wondering whoever it could be. Lifting the helmet, he saw it was a woman. She must be Brunhild, of whom the birds have spoken. Rousing herself and looking at him in a dazed way. "Are you Sigurd, son of Sigmund, who comes with Fafnir's curse?" "Why are you here?" "Because Odin put a spell on me. I am a battle maiden. My joy is fighting, and in the clatter of shield and spear. I struck down once a king whom Odin had promised a victory, and I was cursed to never win another fight till I get married. But I swore I would never marry a man unless he was brave enough to have never felt fear. And so Odin stabbed me with a thorn to put me to sleep." "You are wiser than any other woman," Sigurd said. "Tell me what I must do." "Guard against loving another man's wife. Do not let your own wife's kinsmen hate you. Take care wherever you go, and take care whoever you trust, for many wish you harm." And away he rode. Shield and coat of mail, all rich reddish gold and weapons painted a terrible Fafnir to show who had vanquished the great and terrible dragon. With light brown hair and beard, shoulders broader and stronger than any other man, his eyes were so keen that hardly anyone dared look him straight, and he was courteous and wise, skillful in all arts of war, and with a knowledge of the language of birds, was forewarned of all trouble. When the names of great warriors were remembered, he was counted amongst the greatest of all, known by every man north of the Greek Sea, and forever remembered. After Sigurd had broken Brunhild, she went home to her foster father. From that moment, she gave up her warlike deeds and began tapestry. Though she had been a warrior, she was still more skillful than any other woman at peaceful work like this. Truly, there was nothing she was bad at. The wisest in the land, most terrifying warrior who struck down the gods blessed and goated at sewing. And it happened one day. Sigurd was out hunting out with his hawk, settled down on a window high on a tower and wouldn't come down. Sigurd climbed to get it, and glancing through the window, saw Brunhild. He thought she was more beautiful than any other woman he had seen, and, looking to see what she had embroidered with her golden thread, saw it was a picture of his own wonderful deeds. He climbed down without her seeing him, and was silent the rest of the day. "Why are you so solemn?" asked one of his friends. "I am thinking about Brunhild." "Oh, should you not oughtn't be melancholy about a woman? Brunhild have nothing to do with men. Anyway, she loves fighting battles. That's her own life. That's all she likes. Anyway, but next day, Sigurd went to see Brunhild, sat beside her, and her woman brought her great goblets of wine. You swore to Odin that you would never marry any men unless he was brave to have never felt fear. I am such a man." He took her into his arms and kissed her, but she looked serious. "I am a warrior maiden. It's my destiny to help princes in battle. We shall never live together. If we have to be separated, then it would be a pain sharper than any. If we have to be separated, that will be a pain sharper than any battle wounds we have ever felt. You cannot change what we are fated to do. I must fight, and you must marry a king's daughter called Gudrun." I shall never marry another woman," Sigurd exclaimed. "Swear you will only love me." And vows they exchanged, and he gave her the fateful ring from the dragon sword. Even as she was promising, Brunhild knew that he would never marry her, and away he went. Soon after, Gudrun, the king's daughter, went to see Brunhild. I must tell you of a strange dream that have troubled me very much." "Oh, forget your dreams. No, I must tell you. I think I saw a marvelous golden heart. One that all wanted, but I was the only one that it would come to, and you shot it in front of me and gave it to a wolf coming set. It shook itself and spattered my crazy blood, and it knew it was the blood of my brothers. If you really must know what it means, I will tell you. The golden heart is Sigurd, was vowed to marry me. You will have him," he said, "but you will not keep him for long. Then you will be married against your own wishes to Atli, the king of Huns, who will kill your brothers brutally, and you yourself and killed him in turn, and you shall welter in blood. But I I wish that he would never told me. And it was so. Sigurd went to the hall of Gudrun's father, and talked so much of Brunhild that all knew who it was he loved. Gudrun's mother wanted him to marry Gudrun instead, so she gave him a magic drink, and having drunk it, he forgot of Brunhild and married Gudrun. He gave her the heart of the dragon Fafnir to eat. He had carried it since he had killed the dragon, and this made her wise, fierce, and grim. Gudrun's brother then, Gunnar, wanted to help marry Brunhild, and Sigurd went with him to help rule her. He had forgotten once that she was whom he had once loved. They roamed long and far to the homes of Brunhild's foster father. You will find her not far from here, the hall of a golden roof, a hall surrounded by flames. She sworn only to marry the man who was brave enough to ride through the flames to fetch her, and reach the hall, we saw the flames sleep and go around. Gunnar charged the horse forward, but it sighed, renewed with fear. Try my horse, Sigurd said, but his horse too refused, and Sigurd put Gunnar's armour on, jumped the horse himself, took his spurs into the side, and the horse leapt forward. There was a great rumbling, a crashing, and the entire earth shook. Flames rushed skyward, clouds of dense smoke swirled round, and he could not see a thing. And, so nearly as it started, it died down, and he flung open the door of the hall. Brunhild was sitting there on a high throne, dressed in a coat of mail and sitting on a high throne. She looked like a swan on the crest of a rising wave. Who are you? I am Gunnar, lied Sigurd. I have come to claim you as your wife. I was told you are about to marry the man who would ride through the flames to fetch you. She agreed reluctantly, and he gave her a ring, and she gave him one in return. It was the same ring as Sigurd himself had given her when he had asked her to marry him, but no memory of this due to the magic drink. It was the ring from the dragon sword, which the dragon had claimed to bring death to all who owned it, and Brunhild went home to her foster father. What can I do? When you said I would only marry the man who would ride through the flames, I thought that no one would dare pass Sigurd. He is the one I love. You have to keep your oath and marry this Gunnar, he answered sadly, and so Brunhild and Gunnar married. A great feast was held, which went on for many days, but during the feast Sigurd suddenly remembered the vows he made to Brunhild, but he was married to Gudrun, and now she was married to Gunnar. It was too late to do anything. A day after this, Brunhild and Gudrun went down to bathe in the Rhine together, and Brunhild made it right up. Why do you look so far? Brunhild looked. Why do you look so far? Brunhild looked at her proudly. I do not choose that the same water that goes on you should also go on me also. Your husband, Sigurd, is only a vassal. Mine is the bravest of men, for he rode through the fire to claim me. You don't know what you're talking about. The man who really rode through the fire wearing Gunnar's armor was Sigurd himself. It was a ring you gave me. It was a ring from the dragon sword. You gave it to me, look. Brunhild went deathly pale, hurrying home, and not speaking a word for the rest of the day. Next time that Gudrun saw her, she said to them in the system, Whatever is the matter? Surely you don't mind what I told you the other day? Stop taunting me. Why, you got a noble husband, better than you deserve. But you have married the braver man. Your husband Gunnar is wealthier, but the cigarette killed the dragon and rode through the flames. I value bravery far more than riches. 'Twas your mother who gave Sigurd the magic troop that made him forget that he loved me. And Brunhild went away, brooded about town. Greatly they had the future, not drinking, not eating, laying in a feverish trance. She smashed the tapestry of the adventures of Sigurd, and when Gunnar came near her, he shouted at him, I married you because I thought you were the bravest of men. You were tricking me. It wasn't you who rode through the flames, but Sigurd. And Sigurd himself went to see her. She was asleep when he went in, struggling to sit up, clutching her bedclothes angrily. How dare you come? You deceived me worse than anyone else. When you rode through the fire to see me, I thought your eyes looked familiar, but I could not see clearly because of the haze that shrouded my destiny. Now, I don't want to live longer, and the greatest of all my souls is that I cannot exchange my sword with your blood. Sigurd protested. I was betrayed. I didn't know you again because of the magic drink. When I remembered you, I loved you more than I loved myself. Forget your husband, and I will forget my wife. Let us think only of one another. I can never deceive my husband. It is not on my nature to profess love. Twice. Go away. I want you no longer. And so, Sigurd stumbled away, breathing so heavily in anguish that the lynx snapped in his coat of mail. Brunhild came to her husband Gunnar. Sigurd betrayed me. He has told me this whole story of Gudrun, and she makes fun of me. I shall leave you unless you kill him. Gunnar suddenly summoned his brothers, Var the youngest, talked about what they could do, and he stewed the flesh of a snake and wolf, and called him the youngest, and gave him this meat, and, eating it, the youngest became cunning and fierce. Gunnar urged him, now, go kill Sigurd, and the boy was filled with murder, creeping upon Sigurd's room, where he lay asleep. He was stabbed, and all the bedclothes were covered with thick crimson blood. Raising, he said, It is Brunhild who has done this. No man alive could have killed me in a fair fight. And with those words he died. Gudrun, his wife, wept, and Brunhild laughed aloud at her weeping. What a monstrous woman you are! Then Brunhild burst into a storm of tears and stabbed herself into the arm, and so it was. A huge and splendid funeral pyre was built for Sigurd, and as it blazed fiercely, Brunhild hauled and flung herself to it as well. And so the story of the Volsungs, and of the cursed ring. I swore it, kill anyone who possessed it. First, the king's father was killed by Fafnir. Then, Fafnir was killed by Sigurd. Then, Sigurd, who took the ring from Fafnir, was killed at the risk of Brunhild, and Brunhild killed herself. Now Gudrun had it, and I can assure you, her fate will be as violent, painful and as disastrous as what happened to all others, and so Fafnir's curse perseveres, and thus is the story of Fafnir's gold. Brilliant story, that one. Classic. Everyone loves a bit of Norse mythology, and also that's rare. I think it's Norse. I don't actually know if it's Norse. I probably should have researched this more. That's on me. But brilliant story, and that's why, if you are a fan of Dragon Maid, Daphne is the cursed dragon. He's good at cursing. King gave it himself to resist curse. Terrible story, love it. And with that, I think I'm gonna end here. Those are all the stories I wanted to say today. Lovely time reading them. Lovely time reading them. And I hope you enjoyed as well. Have a good one. Have a good one. See you next time.